Okay, so we're recording. Oh, let me bring this down. 1 second. So, y'all.
Okay. So, hi and hello. Before we get rolling, wanted to submit, how y'all doing? Yeah, it is 3:32 p.m. on Saturday. We are melting. Women who submit conference. How are y'all doing? Shout out to you all online joining us as well in your wonderful AC. If we are here to be, and thank you all for joining us. Welcome, hi and hello. I first and foremost want to give a shout out to Raquel, who's part of the Colibrí Writers, who's doing the work and handing out flowers and poems. We want to make sure that our panel is not just a traditional academic panel, but a panel that also feeds you spiritually, as well as your bellies. So we have candy up here that has turned into like a milkshake in a wrapper. So y'all help yourselves to that for the event. But we're gonna get rolling here. This is an organic space. So if y'all got questions, y'all want to shout, you want to say amen, you agree, like please be loud. This is the room to be loud in agreement. If you are, yeah, I'm gonna just open the floor for all of that. So let's get going here. So hi and hello, everybody. I first and foremost want to also say thank you to Women Who Submit, to the staff and the faculty. So if y'all want to give them a round of applause, I know it takes a village to make these events possible. And we're so grateful to you all, for Social Community and all the other folks here and all of you that have driven far and wide to be here, to be in community, to bask in the importance of what it is to be a writer. A lot of times we feel like Edgar Allan Poe up in the attic, right? But I think community is the way we liberate ourselves, as the wonderful Audre Lorde says. We cannot find liberation without community. And so y'all are here being free. So thank you for being free with us here today. Yeah, that was it up to Audre Lorde. So welcome to our panel. Our panel discussion today is how community can be keys and bridges within the literary community. We often enter the world of writing, and the word rejection gets thrown out a lot to us, whether it's in publishing or just anywhere where doors open, where our work, our voices, our stories are not welcome. And so we want to talk today with an amazing panel who have all levels of experience and what that is to be a writer. And so with that, today we have entailed an introduction with who these wonderful writers are, a bit of their poetry, a Q&A, and our favorite part is a Q&A with you all and having dialogue with the questions and answers. So if something's bubbling inside of you, please say that. We want to hear from you. So we're going to go down the line and have these wonderful people introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Jackie Robledo, and my pronouns are they, them, their, sometimes ella. And I am a writer. I'm gonna read a part of a larger poem, so I'll just go ahead. My mother, my first home, wet and blue, I came out her womb covered in sadness, a deep melancholy passed down by her mother, the only inheritance I've collected so far. I wonder if she feels it too. This distance between us, the phantom weight on my chest, the generations of broken promises, people, broken language, tongue. I remind myself I am not broken, just fragmented shards of color built into mosaic, so familiar with magic, the way my mother, my grandmother, built something out of nothing like a true artist. Born of alchemists, my grandmother with broken English raised siblings and children in a Robledo, 2 hands. My mother with broken heart and spirit conjured meals from scraps, and like any child with wondrous eyes, didn't question how. And I wonder if she had a chance, she could lull me to sleep with her soothing voice at times. When this world is too much to carry, I want to crawl back into my mother's womb, baptize me into a new rebellion.
Hi, so my name is Gracie Azua. I am a poet, working professional, and I am just someone who wants to learn and spread knowledge. And today I will be reading my poem from my first book, Where is My Lazarus? Under these palm trees, my Lazarus comes walking from a distance. I will know my mom's silhouette like it flashed on her deathbed. The sweet coo of the birds will be heaven's trumpets announce her arrival like Jesus into Nazareth. My Lazarus, a welcome friend to this earth once again. Among tombstones and plastic roses, my heart will sing once again. The summer sky will no longer cry, flooding California with rain. In the angel's ache, us mortals will rejoice. The world back again at perfect alignment. My Lazarus will be waiting just for me. My thinning figure saved by her arrival, our miracle blessed onto us. We stitch together our dollars and pennies to order her favorite mariscos so that she can live again. But my Lazarus does not appear. Her funeral goes as planned. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Angélica Yañez. I'm a professor. I'm a poet of Chicano and ethnic studies. I'm a part of Colibrí Writers, and I'm also the founder of the Ancestral Teaching Institute. And in the spirit of community, this poem is for you, a love letter for my people that will address both the love and the tension that we have. Created from corn mesh we formed, in the center of the university ombligo, the cosmic storm, we rise, dismembered like Goyo Shauki's divine fight. Remember, we're etched in the sun's films of light. Children of the sun, caressed by its golden ray, bronze and sun kissed to kiss the earth with the same lips we kiss. From empires grand and humble streets and all the places we stay, hands toil and type and reshape, manifest destiny's way. My people, mi gente, mi gente. Elders, kings, queens, cholas, scholars, pachucos, hood rats, haters, farmers, teachers, nurses, medicine women, students, mothers, el paletero, the tamale, crackheads, fresas, the lost and the whitewashed, from drug dealers to healers and all the brown babies. I claim you all, wear you on my skin, carry you on my back. I love you all the same. I move mountains for my people, sit and wait for my people, spend lifetimes loving my people. Even if they can't, won't, refuse, reject me, I love you anyway. When the weight of your machismo cast stones upon my body, or the venom of your hateration from within overflows, if I get to choose, I choose you every time, over and over like birds in the sky. We belong together. I belong to Mexico and she belongs to me. I sing songs you didn't ask for, write love letters you won't read. I choose you. My people, mi gente, mi gente. When I die, use my hair to bless the earth. Drink my blood, light the smoke, let it burn, pass the tobacco. Bury my name where sand and sea meet amongst the ocean waves. Use my flesh to make pozole, feast in my memory. My bones, carve them with all your care. Make instruments, craft the most intricate, the most beautiful ever created. From them, form flutes to sing me home. Gracias.
Hi, I'm Noriko Nakada, a multiracial Asian American, creates fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and art to capture the stories I've been told not to tell. I'm going to read a poem that was in Gathering, our Women Who Submit anthology. And this was part of a correspondence between Hazel and I. And we wrote poems back and forth to one another throughout the pandemic. And she had just penned me a poem called Good Place to Start. A false choice, Nakada to HKW. I woke up the other morning with the first lines of this poem on my heart. Is it safe yet to celebrate? Your last poem reminded me of levity, a good place to start. But that was before the election and the most recent surge, before doctors and nurses urged us all again not to look away. Still, I remind myself that I need light, and laughter. Seeing how bad and how serious has never been my problem. So I write again because the words still show up here despite doubt and neglect, because my body keeps carrying me through these days, although I curse and critique it and do not let it rest. Because time outdoors has done me good and our planet still sustains us despite our abuse. Because blood is blue until you cut wide open, exposing red, and the purple bruise of our country might begin to heal. Yes, it's a good place to start. What other choice do we have to not begin? Let's all just take a minute to bask in what just came before, because I need a minute. My name is Hazel. I am Witham, she, her pronouns. I am so honored to be with these incredible forces of nature. I did not anticipate how starting with our words would like really hit so beautifully. So thank you all for letting me be here with you. I'm an educator, a mother, a writer, an artist, a slam poetry coach. So serious performances already up here. I'm gonna read from my first book that has just come out. It came out during Pride Month from Strikethrough Press, a wonderful micro press that my dear writing partner Noriko and Nakada launched. I'm gonna read the opening pages. This is called Pride Before the Fall. It was a gray June morning, but West Hollywood was bursting with rainbows everywhere we went. Luminous men aboard flowered floats, short shorts and high-top boots, chaps and flannel muscle tanks, unbuttoned to bare bright beating hearts to wide open legs. Women saddled atop motorcycles, bandana hair, leather vests and leather pants, motorcycle boots I fell in love with. Some stacked two to a bike, arms around waists, calling themselves by names they'd embrace. Others who somewhere were called two-spirit, both male and female, yet something beyond both. Sequins and gold lame and long flowing wigs, sculpted legs and narrow hips, high heels and fishnets, shining like stars on earth. The power of that Milky Way flashing by, the cheering, looping, whirling wildness of celebrating something that was supposed to be hushed and secret, quiet and closeted. It was 1985, and I was 10, towing the boundary line between childhood and adolescence. That morning marked 16 years since the Stonewall Uprising of June 1969. The 10-year-old me knew nothing of that yet. How a protest could pave the way for a parade was something that would take a long time to understand. Okay, so good. I forgot to introduce myself. I am your moderator for today. Hi and hello, everybody. My name is Karla Cordero, pronouns she, hers. An absolute joy to be here with the panelists. I am a Chicana backyard farmer. I'm a storyteller, educator. I'm a first-time tia to an amazing niece, Zoe, who continues to teach me how to be a poet and stay a poet in all of its magic. And so I'm gonna read a poem. Here we go. And this is dedicated to you all. If I could say something to you all, because I don't know if I'm gonna get to talk to all of you. On the days you feel small, remember that's your superpower and you're in good company. On the days you feel the smallest, remember you're in good company. Because ants are bodybuilders, because a loose tooth can turn a child into a billionaire,
Cause dust once was skin cells keeping your bones from spilling over. Cause a droplet of blood can give a man in court his innocence. Cause seeds can birth a radiant, an army of radiance. Cause glitter can steal the sun. Cause a splinter to the finger can bring you to your knees. Cause eyelashes punch dirt in the face daily. Cause the mountain over there is a mountain. Cause a grain of sand woke up with a dream. Because raindrops are prophets from the gods. Cause breadcrumbs are banquets for the birds. Cause what I mean to say is, don't underestimate your minuscule magic. You mouse in a room of elephants. Because small can be another word for rebel with a cause. We can be the tiniest bite of cake, sweet sugar of kindness. Offer it up to a stranger. Watch yourself become the biggest gesture for love. All right. So welcome to our panel. We will begin with our first question. As mentioned, a reminder, we are here to talk about the power of community and when the world within the literary world builds the walls, tells us no, shuts the door, and you feel alone. We want to talk about those experiences and how you can all leave today meeting someone that can be the resource, that can be that accountability partner, that can be that small thing that carries so much power. And so our first question that I would love to ask our panelists, question one being, how do we come back or overcome doubt, and how does community help us find hope, solutions, and empowerment? So let me repeat that one more time since I messed it up the first time. How do we overcome self-doubt, and how does community help us find hope, solutions, and empowerment?
Well, I think this is kind of a loaded question. A very big question, but for me, I kind of feel like the baby of the group because, I didn't really start sharing openly, and submitting for publication until I think it's been a good year that, well, I guess last year, I made a dedication. Well, I told myself that I wanted to get out of my comfort zone, and just share my writing and, share in open mic spaces. So for me, I think the barrier has been, social anxiety, and the fear of being seen. And it's taken a very long time for me to get to a space where I feel comfortable sharing my words and my experience. And I honestly, like every time I think about this, like question about like self-doubt and how do I navigate that, or how do I, I think it is because of community. And I don't know if I've ever really told Karla this, but when I think of Karla, like without her participation, her being so involved in the community and building access to workshops, free workshops, because sometimes workshops can be really expensive, and I don't got that kind of money to pay $75 to $200 to, go to a workshop. So I would say that it takes community and like other people kind of pushing you, because I've always kind of felt that like Karla has been that like push that I needed, to like kind of get to where I'm at right now. And I'm really looking forward to submitting more and meeting more people. So that's what I have for now. I think I'll build off.
So for me, the way I combated self-doubt, it took a long time. I did not want to share. I hid behind different secret accounts and shared my poetry because I didn't want to live in my truth. I didn't want my family to hear my truth. I didn't want my friends to hear my truth. And what I talked about with my therapist, if you haven't been in therapy, please go there, find therapy. There are low cost therapy. There's a lot of resources, but, I talked to my therapist and I said, I want to do writing. And she said, is that your goal? And I said, yeah, I want to do writing. And she said, how do you do writing? And I said, I just write. And she said, what else do you want to do with your writing? And I said, well, I want to share it to other people. I want people to know that my words and this connect the face to the words, that this is my lived experience. And she said, okay, how do you do that? And I said, well, I have to go to an open mic and I have to find writing people who are writers and say, hi, my name is Gracie and I'm a writer too. And do you know of anything that I can do in the community, or is there open mics? Or is there anywhere that, like a blog or something I can submit to? And I would shake and I would freak out. And my therapist said, okay, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna set one goal. And so your goal is to write and to share your work. So how are we gonna do that? Once a month, you're gonna go to one open mic and that's it. Share one poem and then sit down. And then after, you're gonna go up to someone that you like their poem and shake their hand and say hello. And start with a seed, just one little thing to do. And slowly I got more and more confidence in myself, because other people, I liked their poetry, but they also liked mine. And they were so willing to help and build community. And we switched contact numbers, phone numbers, and they would share their work and we would edit together. And it starts from just one little thing. Set a goal. You have to believe in your writing, in yourself. You are your #1 supporter. It's you and yourself to get through this writing journey. And you have to be the one to put yourself out there. But if you're scared, just do it once. Set a goal one time, I'm gonna do it a month. Meet someone, say hello, and then dip. If you don't want to talk to any more people, but slowly build up, because that is how you find community. And in community, they'll feed your soul and you will grow confidence. So that's how I overcame the self-doubt, and I met all of these wonderful people on this panel. Here I am now. That happened in February 2023. And I'm not here. You can do anything. But you just have to set that one goal and see where it takes you.
Thank you, Gracie. I'm sure there are many seasoned folks in the house as well, and some new folks. So I think just the question of why, what is your why? Why does it matter? And I think in the context of this particular conference, and maybe to women who submit, why have our story been silenced or deemed as not worthy to be seen or published or more visible? So just refreshing your why. You might have been in the game for a while, you might be new, but why does it matter? Why do your stories matter? And I think getting right with yourself, because we can always chase the external, quote unquote, acceptance, but where do you accept your own work? Like, when is it good enough? And it's good enough, right? So in terms of like writing and publishing, there's always very external, right? Like my work and accept me, and that's amazing too, but maybe you start your own publishing house, your own blog. We collaborate with women who submit, or Colibrí Writers. And sometimes we have to create our own, because what's out there, I don't really want to reinforce Eurocentric, colonial, male-centered, white-centered stories or narrative. That's tired and boring for me. So, I mean, hey, we gotta, but why does it matter? That's the original question. And your accents and our use of different languages or phrases or our incorrect grammar, like, we need that.
braces. We need it all. Talk with your braces. I mean, there was a time when I had braces and I was embarrassed to talk because you sound different, right? So how can we even sound, right? So that's my 2 cents, and check in with yourself. Why am I doing this? Who needs to hear these stories? And I want to hear all of your stories.
Thank you. So for me, the self-doubt comes pretty much every time I put pen to paper, sit down with the keyboard, read something else that is fucking fabulous, and I go, damn, what am I doing? And then to remind myself, everyone here has their flowers today, right? Because you all deserve your flowers, and you all have that story to tell. And we need that reminder from one another. And that's, to me, what this community is about, is that we come together on days like this and are reminded why Women Who Submit started, because people said, oh, women just don't submit their work. That's why we don't publish very many women. That's why the canon is still so cis male white. It's just, we don't hear from them. And we're calling bullshit on that and saying there is room, and we are making the room. And if the agent says no, or if the agent pitches the big 5 and the big 5 says no, well, we have the resources to do it ourselves, and we will do it on our own. These are the stories we need to fill us up. And so that's what I remind myself when that self-doubt creeps in, when I'm not so sure if I'm doing it right. Yeah, there's room for us. There's room for us.
I'm hearing all of this and relating so much to how doubt can sort of keep us small and quiet. It's having me think about, like, what good doubt, what could it do for us as writers? And so for me, I think my doubt first gets like kind of cured at the page when I just am by hand, messy, writing, doodling for myself. So that's where I kind of work through some of my doubt. But then my doubt can also lead me toward revision and honing and reading it out loud one more time before submitting. And I can sometimes be a little too precious with what I'm going to put out. It can take a while, but it also invites me to be vulnerable with my loved ones and my trusted readers. You know, this book happened because of so many people saying, sure, I'll read your book. And then they told me it was worthy. And after enough times asking for that support, I finally was like, all right, I'm tired of the gatekeeper saying no, to hell with them. And let's just get the book out in the world. So I think doubt is a really important thing to recognize. It's not going to go away. You know, I mean, you can like work through it, but it's still going to keep cropping up in you and passing.
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, how many of you are doing an MFA? Okay, shout out to you too. How many of you are considering an MFA? Okay. Shout out to you for inflation, that's real, I get it, yeah. How many of you already graduated from MFA? Okay, a lot more, okay, awesome. So when I think about self-doubt, I remember doing an MFA because one teacher said, you should do an MFA, and I'm first gen, I'm like, what's that mean? What's that acronym mean? Tell me more. And so I applied, I got in, and there I go, first gen, not knowing anything about what a book is and what publishing is, and my 3 years, I had no book, but it took me 3 years to find my voice. And it took me 3 years to get real strong skin. And it took me 3 years to figure out, I was sitting in a room and I was the only Chicana being represented in that room. And so acknowledging the spaces we enter, there are power systems at play. And when you recognize that there are power systems at play, you can then separate that self-doubt and say, it's not me, it's the system gaslighting our stories and that we're not worthy. And so, yeah, no, and this is facts. These are things I had to unlearn. And so I'm so grateful for my MFA. I learned a lot. I have amazing mentors that are still with me to this day. But I think recognizing when we enter spaces that want to teach us or be in community with writing, ask yourself, what is, who are the faculty that are representing, who's in your, do your homework. And when you do your homework, you enter a lot stronger. I always tell a lot of writers, when you have self-doubt, make your top 5 lists of why you need to write. Something has called you in here today because writing is a part of your DNA, of your survival. Nobody can document your history, your people's history. That's the work you gotta do. That's the work you've been called to do. So when you remind yourself that every word you put down is like a little citizen and you're building a village, a world into existence, we're in the occupation of making something out of nothing. You know what I'm saying? Nobody can do it like you. And so when self-doubt hits you, go to your top 5 and say, why do I need to write? Give yourself that reminder, because there's a lot of stuff out there that's gonna say no. For whatever, capitalism, publishing numbers, there's an agenda in the publishing world, my people. And so when we recognize that there's an agenda, we come in more equipped. We come in more weaponized, but we keep writing because that's our call. Remind yourself who in your family, who in your lineage, who in your ancestors didn't have the privilege to document the story. Now you do. And we need that work more than ever. I want to leave my niece stories of what it is to grow up of our Indigenous people, of our heritage. Nobody else is going to do it but me. Nobody else writes in my family. It's all oral storytelling. So when you leave today, think about when self-doubt hits you in the face, go back to your top 5 reasons and say, why am I in this work? It is spiritual work. It is work to archive a history that needs you to document that work. Right. And so with that, we're gonna go to question 2, but let me do a check-in. How's everybody doing? Everything good? Yeah? Okay, good. I hope the questions are bubbling and they're getting ready and we can't wait to be in conversation with you all. So question 2, my people, here we go. So now that we recognize the walls, right? We recognize the locked doors. We wanna talk about community and how community can be the keys and community can be the bridges. And not just when we get the open door, then where do we go next? And so the question is, what does community look like individually, in your own community, and how can we then take that knowledge and replicate it for ourselves when we leave today?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
So for me, this is what community looks like. I grew up in a house of 2 moms. I grew up with women gathered around me all the time, women, and it was a deeply safe space. There was just that feeling of total acceptance and listening. Community is so much grounded in listening. And I think back to the earliest days of the pandemic, and this is where I feel like my connection to women who submit got so deeply rooted when we started showing up for Saturday check-ins that Sochi and folks were calling for. And the simplicity of us gathering, and Zooms are very rectangular, but it's a circle. It's one person speaking at a time. And, at times, someone gently reminding them they were going over time and sharing our accomplishments, our goals, and our needs. And the simplicity of that, and you had 1 minute for each. And you then got to listen to all these other people with their accomplishments and their goals and their needs, like week after week after week. It was truly the single biggest blessing of the pandemic. It has affected how I teach. It's affected how I help myself through my doubt. It's such an incredible template for community. And so that's what comes to mind is the circles of women, and non-binary folks and queer folks, and people of color, people who know what it is to be at the margins and who speak about that. Yeah, this community, it means so much to me as a writer. I was not a poet until I started going to Women Who Submit. I was a fairly new mother when I really got into the Women Who Submit circles. And Hazel, my writing partner, we're still keeping that term for now. Hazel would like to invent a new word. If anyone has a new word to describe the partnership we have, we're open to queries. And you know, we wrote before kids every morning before we went. We wanted to center this work that we were before we were teachers, before we were wives, before we were any of those other roles. We were writers. We were artists. And then kids came, and that mothering thing can really mess with the craft. But we continued to be able to meet in person when we could, but also just checking in digital, we text each other each morning when we get to the page, make sure we're getting to the page. And then I needed the push of Women Who Submit to get me to get my work into the world. I had Strikethrough, I had a book, I had 2 books already that I'd done pre-kids, because I was like, if these books are gonna get in the world, it's not gonna happen once the kids come. So, and then Women Who Submit said, okay, in this community, we need to submit our work. The world needs these voices. And so this community really gave me that nudge and that belief in myself that, oh, okay, let's see what I have to share. What is the story that I can tell? What is this call for a poems about the political system that's going on right now? What about this call from some poets? You know, suddenly these communities within the literary community that want our words, women-focused presses, for me, Asian American focused press, oh, we do have people who are propping doors open and looking for work that we all resonate with. And so finding those communities, this is the press I always send my poems to first, because we are in community, we are already in community, and finding those places that will amplify our voices and help us share.
Words. How y'all doing? We've been here all day, melting away like delicious chocolate. We have been spraying the panel with magical rose water. So let's see. I love community to a fault. I'll talk about the fault in a moment. For Black and Brown communities, the organizing and understanding of community has been directly tied to our decolonization, to use it as a tool to dismantle gatekeeping and very specifically individualism, right? So I don't want to fall into the trap that the idea that community is perfect if you just find your space. So also talking a little bit about the contradiction, right? So then we find our people, we find our kinfolk, and then sometimes they're also reinforcing whiteness or forms of white terrorism, right? So be critical of that. Check out the space if it's for you. And the hope is that you'll find your group or your community. But to really also be critical. Because so often we go in, and you're a young person like me at one time, you go with those heart-eyed emojis, smack those heart eyes right out of me, right? And so for folks looking for their space, you know, I say put that on your radar, you know, go with an open heart and mind, but also be mindful of the practices even in the spaces that claim to be about decolonizing, right? So that's my 2 vessels for you all. And, but I really do love being in community. I always try my best to show up in a good way. I try to be a good community member. And thank you for those of you that are in reciprocity like that.
So when I think about community, I think about the community I'm currently in, but the community that I left behind too. And in my work, I really want to share the community I left behind because I'm from the Imperial Valley. And back then, I know that was not a long time ago, but there wasn't a lot of writers in the community. I didn't know any writers. I didn't know any poets. I didn't know anyone who short stories. I had never heard of someone who had published a book from the Imperial Valley, which is 4 hours southeast of here. Me and Karla know, because me and Karla are from there. And I think I tap in to find community now. I tap into the community that I had before, and the love and the authenticity that my community before had. And I unfortunately had to move away, but looking for that authenticity, looking for people who are real and raw about their writing and is not in the writing to make a big name for themselves, but they are in it for the craft, for the love of the art, because your art is a labor of love. And to find other people who say, this is my passion, this is the thing that fuels my soul, you will find, if you are like that too, and this is your life's work, find other people who call to that, but also look, as Angélica was saying, be critical and be mindful, and find community that will self-analyze, and if they do something wrong, that will redirect and will say, this was incorrect, and this is how we are gonna move forward. I can't remember the word, I had it in my head, but because we are all human, we're all gonna make mistakes, and we are all you're all in community with each other, but sometimes we're gonna step on toes and we don't mean to, or you're meant to, and I hope that's not you, but you know what I mean? I hope you don't mean to step on other people's toes, but to go in and have that communication, because to be in community, you have to be able to take criticism, but also lovingly criticize. If they're holding those white Eurocentric, cis, heteronormative institutions and ideas, because for us to be in here, we had to tear those down to be here right now. And we must continue to do that. We must continue to fight for the communities that we love, that we no longer are part of, but we still stand for, and we still rep, and we still love. And we must love our communities now and share knowledge. The big part of community is sharing knowledge, knowledge sharing, talking to people about being published, whether it's traditional publishing or self-publishing, because I self-published, and I would have not self-published my book had someone I knew far off, who became a friend through going to different open mics. I went to their DMs and I said, hey, how did you self-publish your book? And they showed me what to do. And I would have never published this book had someone in my community not told me how to do it. So it's not just keeping that knowledge to yourself, because that is selfish. It is sharing it out to the world and getting more people's stories out who are not in the literary white canon, who are not in the heteronormative canon, that are not males, you know, because your story matters. Your communities, where you have come from, matters. Your ancestors matter, to tell their stories, and what they have done is to show love to your community, to show love to your family. I have this book, and many of the people I talk about here have passed, and they were in that community. I get to tell their stories now. And you tell the stories of your loved ones and the people in your community, and someone may feel touched. And now a little seed of them is held in their body, and they carry it. And now someone else knows about my mom, about my grandmother, and you share that love throughout the community. Community is love, but love doesn't come without criticism, doesn't come without Just being a friend. Because if you're a true friend, you're gonna be there for the thick and thin, good and bad, but also have conversations, have the tough conversation. But, yeah, I just think it's important to show up with love. Because love will change, you know, the love that I have for all of these friends and women here. I hold them in my heart.
So I'm a deep thinker and I'm also an overthinker. I think that's part of it, being anxious. So I also feel like I have had a complicated relationship with community. Kind of tapping into a little bit of what Angélica has shared. So when I think about community, I first think about like home and family, of course. I was raised by women, and when I think about community, I also think about people who look like me. But I think when I transferred to, and I feel like I found community through my experience, like community college. And I think after transferring to UCLA, I quickly learned that community, like just solely on shit, like community based on only on identity is not it. I think community, I think shared, like with shared values, is more important to me, at least. And I think community, I think part of community is accountability to each other. I think it's taking care of each other and our needs. And I'm like kind of blinking, sorry, y'all. But yeah, that happens sometimes. Social anxiety. But yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there. Sorry.
Awesome. But I'm so proud of you, and this is what we've been talking about, is like, how do we take the next step in our writing careers? It's like entering a place that makes you feel uncomfortable, safe, but uncomfortable, and then it gets a little easier, and then you do it again, and it gets a little easier, and then you do it again, and you got you, you're good, right? And it's all about love and nurturing that space for it to be okay. And then the unlearn, we enter communities that you're like, yo, these are not my people, so therefore I shouldn't be part of a community. No, it's just, that's not your tribe. You haven't found your tribe yet. And so when I think about community, it's two things. Community answers and fulfills what's missing in my life as a writer or anything. So community is two things for me. One, it's the labor, right? All of us in here are educators, work for nonprofits, are mentors. We serve the community. I know that y'all are activists. We are on the floor doing the work for our community. That's important. And so when I started running a nonprofit as the executive director for an open mic, and we offer free writing programs, what I noticed is that the big 5 publishers here in the United States were only publishing, to this day, 7.9% Latine and Indigenous peoples. But I'm going to the open mics and hosting open mics, and I'm seeing 100% Latine, Chicanx, Indigenous writers. Something's wrong. And so I'm so grateful as I was seeing these amazing writers hit the mic constantly with so much love and conviction. I go, then I'm gonna make my own group, and we're gonna publish ourselves, and we're gonna help spread the word together, and we're gonna help be mirror reflections for our community, because the big 5 ain't doing it, at least not fast enough, at least not large enough. And so we created the Colibrí Writers, and we started working together this year. We have done commissioned work for Planned Parenthood. We have done a radio show because of the community connections here with Sochi and Gina Duran. We have met wonderful people. And so when I think about community, then it goes to the next step. And the next step is the work. How do you as a writer conduct yourself in your community? And what I mean by that is, let me give you an example. I want to give a shout out to the amazing writer, Jackie Cuevas. Jackie, I just met at the Mokondo Writers Workshop in San Antonio. I never met Jackie before, but Jackie was in my poetry workshop. And Jackie from a distance at the reading there was watching me salivate at all these writers I admired. Kevin Young, Chedi Moraga. And they looked at me and they said, go say hi. No, I'm not gonna say hi. I'm like, I was fangirling. And Jackie took my hand and said, I'm gonna go introduce you to these writers. And so when they did that, I was blown away that this person who had never met me used their cultural capital to open a door and welcome me to writers that I never thought I would say hi, shake a hand, introduce myself. And then they said, I'll keep an eye out for your name. I have an opening, there's an open submission, you should see. You know what I'm saying? So how do we conduct ourselves? Take inventory of your cultural capital and ask yourself, how are you opening doors? How are you being a key, right? For the community. Another example, we go to these events and we get really nervous and like, oh, I've been published here. We can throw all the credentials, but while the person's listening, are you asking them, what do you write? How does your heart feel today? What brings you joy? How can I support you, right? Because again, we go to places like AWP and it's like, let's go. I want to be published here. I got to be here, in this group. And that's good. But ask yourself, when you navigate your body with that cultural capital, what are you doing to introduce people that are not novice, introverts, scared, never thought they were worthy, first gen, to open the door and say, you are worthy to come meet these people, right? So when we conduct ourselves in our community, think about the physical labor we do, but also think about the word. And how do you honor the word to help those folks, right? And I promise you, doors will open when you provide that form of community through the word, right? Anybody else want to add anything in terms of what community looks like? Any final thoughts? Yeah.
As I listen, the idea that like community is not competitive. And I don't know about you, but going to AWP, I don't know. And that feels really overwhelming. And these kinds of spaces don't, they feel very nurturing and uplifting. So I just wanted to mention that, like the sharing of resources. Oh, that poem, I just got it, I got something published here, you should submit there, like that sharing of resources. And then that takes conscious critique and effort, because we are all existing within this capitalist framework that gives us the suggestion that there are limited resources and limited space, but we know otherwise. But it's so hard, like, when we sit down and submit our work together and people are like, oh yeah, there's this residency. No one's like, oh, now we're in competition. No, let's all get there. Let's all be in community together. And that's what's so unique about this community, is that it's not a competition. That, Sochi has been with the community for so long, but she's not walking around like, you can't talk to me. I'm sorry, where have you published? No, it's all about bringing us all along and really trying to be aware of that competition and all that capitalism has done to put us in competition with one another, and remind ourselves that that's them, that's not us, that's not who we are.
And before we open it up for the Q&A, I want you to recognize the numbers here. And this is all intentional with the big five in the publishing industry. Latine, 7.6% published here in the United States. Black and African American, 5.9%, that makes no sense. Asian Pacific Islander, 4.9%, still doesn't make sense. American, Indigenous, Alaskan, Native storytellers, 0.4%. Makes no sense to me. 16% for our queer and LGBTQ folks. And it's because we need to work harder in being the doors and the keys. But what happens is we recognize these numbers and we're trying to run by ourselves. Let's run together and make those numbers go up, right? So think about when you leave here today, back into your communities, into your classrooms, into your nonprofits and grant writers, say, yes, I'm running because I have goals, but who are you bringing along? Who are you helping on that journey, right? And anything else before we open up for Q&A?
I want to share a quote that I think about as I like navigate academia, because I work at a community college, and you know, just it came to mind as everyone was speaking as well. I love Toni Morrison and she rest in peace. So I just want to share a quote that I always come back to, for telling her students, when you get these jobs that you have been so brilliantly trained for, just remember that your real job is that if you are free, you need to free somebody else. And if you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. This is not just a grab bag kind of game. I just want to share that.
Yeah, can I just add, like, there's some really generous writers in our writing community, like the larger They've Made It writing community, like listening to podcasts with Roxanne Gay and with Alexander Chi, and there are writers who are showing a new way of being writers who have made it, who are not about their lofty books, they're about, all right, the door's open, let's go, let's get the work in, let's get the stories told.
Yeah. Can we take a 10-second break to shake it out? Let's stand up.
Yeah, let's shake it.
Let's go, let's go.
We took our nose, we used our ears.
Anybody want a chocolate?
Yes, yes. We feel like Oprah, and you get a chocolate, and you get a chocolate, and you get a chocolate.
Oh, sure, okay, we can do that.
There you go, yeah. Be safe, you're not like athletic like myself. Don't hurt yourself. Come on down. Yeah. And so this is why we love women who submit, you know, they're amazing and we're so grateful.
Hello.
Sorry.
No, you're good. And so with that, we want to use our time to meet you, to be in community and dialogue with you. So if you got any questions, please, Sochi will find you, and we would love to offer any resources, wisdom, tips, frustration, with you. Yeah. Any questions, comments? It could even be comments. Y'all are like, I need to say this thing because it would help. Say that thing. Yeah. And then we'll go.
It's just not just the literary world that lacks women. There's this book that I just found out about. It's the story of art without men, and it's written by Hazel. And she was walking through a museum and noticed that, like, the majority were all male, a painter, and so I know we're all like writers, and it's hard to post sometimes on Instagram because it's like words. But if you ever see like the artist that you like and it's a woman, just go ahead and repost, and it helps them out. And yeah.
Just to like mention that, I found a lot of community through people sharing my videos of me speaking and just out of open mic. People I'd never known before, and then they became my mutuals, and then they became my actual friends, and I went to their birthday party, and then we were hanging out in the park with an edible. Having a good time. You know what I mean? You can find your community in so many different ways now. So sharing, reposting, just gets the word out to someone else. Like maybe someone will see it like, I like that poet, I like those words, who are they? You know, so.
That's actually a segue to my question. And anyone can answer. How do you, because I'm a little neurospicy and I forget, I have timelines. So I meet amazing people, I grab their phones on Instagram.
And then like a week goes by and I'm like, I didn't say thank you, I didn't say hi, what's up? What are some practices that you all do to keep track of the people you meet? Do you have Excel sheets? Are there like certain, because I do that, I have to. So what are some things that you all like to do to keep track and also feel like, hey, I'm sharing my stuff? And yeah, how do you continue the conversation?
I want to say self. I'm also neurospicy. I have ADHD, and I want to say that that's a huge barrier for me. Like, I think time and deadlines, honestly. I've literally submitted something 1 minute after the 12 midnight deadline, and I was told that, yeah, we're not gonna read your work, even though I paid for it. Well, I mean, they said it much nicer than that, but that's how I took it. So yeah, I struggle with that, and honestly, ongoing struggle. I definitely do use Excel sheets as well, and we have a group chat among each other, and it's so helpful when they send reminders about deadlines. So that's really helpful. Just reminders from my writer folks.
So it ties back into the community, find your community. Find someone to go write in the park with and be like, hey, or write in a cafe, be like, hey, I have this deadline. Me and Jackie, can I say this?
Sure. I mean, I don't know what you should say.
We are each other's grad application submission buddies. We went to a cafe the other day and we were talking about what our plans were, what we wanted to do, why we wanted to go to grad school, this and that. And so we each sat there the entire day. We went to 2 cafes and we had to eat. It was the best time ever. We were laughing, making a hella noise in so many cafes. But it's okay. And in that, we made a deadline to ourselves. We're like, hey, by September 15th, we're going to have everything we need. And we're going to talk to each other about it. We're going to regroup again and we're going to figure this out. So it's finding just one person that could be your community and having them be accountable, or having a group chat. It's like, hey, this is going to be submitted. Just a reminder, because God, we have lives, man. I don't do poetry as a full-time thing. I'm an accountant and office admin. I don't even know about numbers, but I just got that job. So I'm gonna focus on surviving, paying my rent, man. So just reminding your friends who are poets, hey, this is being submitted, or here's the deadline, or maybe they'll share something that they see, you know what I mean? Or if you see it on a post on Instagram, take a screenshot. Be like, okay, this is gonna happen, and put it in your calendar, and then have it a week reminder before. Because that's how you're gonna remember, man. My life's too busy to remember everything. And if you don't get to submit something, don't beat yourself up about it. You have a life outside of writing, and you are more than a writer, but writing is your passion. But don't beat yourself up about it. There's gonna be another submission. That's the beautiful thing. There's more places to submit your stuff, more places to share your story. If you don't make it to that submission window, it's okay. Maybe it'll open up in a year, or maybe there's somewhere else that your poem was meant to be in, or your writing piece was meant to be in. Don't take it as oh man, I messed up. I need to stop what I'm doing, and I'm such a failure. See it as, you know what? Where else can I send this to? And just keep yourself going, because it's hard out there. It's hard out here.
Question, thank you for asking that. What was your name again? Rosa.
This is my dear friend Rosa Navarrete, the filmmaker.
That's right. That's right. Rosa. That's how we represent for each other. Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Love it.
Yes, connection there. Yeah, so Rosa and I had a chance to chit chat earlier and make a connection, but to your question, we're all busy and have lives, and we come to these places to nourish us, to fill us up, and then we go back to our little corners of the world, and it's easy to fall into our regular habits. But something simple, if I reach out to you in 3 months, hey, Rosa, we met, it's me, let's Zoom, let's FaceTime. No shame to that, right? Just we're all busy, I think we could understand that. And, you know, be also in reciprocity, right? To be like, hey, I wanna pick your brain about something. Let's Zoom. I know Sochi did that for us, and that was such a beautiful moment. We were able to get on Zoom, talk about publishing and representation. And so today I brought her a little gift, and I wanted to be in reciprocity like that. So Venmo your mentor or your new friend like $3 for, can you even buy anything with $3 today? That's, so, no, $5. So, you know, what my point is not just to be extracting from people, like how can we, because we burn out, right? And so what I wanted to offer. So it was a pleasure to meet you. Had one more question?
Oh, wait, we have one online. Also just wanted to share that I have a hard time remembering people who I met, especially in a big space like this. I use Instagram like a database. And so sometimes I'll be like, I'll see someone, I'm like, oh wait, I met them. And then I'm like, what's their name? What's their name? And I'm like looking their Instagram. And I'm also like, hey, I met them at Macondo, so I'm going to Macondo, then I'm cross-referencing, like, I do that kind of thing. From online, from Deborah Nevares Vivolo. She's in the IE and she's in rural areas. So her question is being out in a rural area for folks that are far out or in places with not a lot of resources. The question is, if you can recommend, is there a list of writing online workshops, online communities, online workshops that you can recommend for folks who are maybe more far out?
The IE.
We actually, one of our slides, right? Yeah, we have a slide that has resources that we want to kind of point folks to. Because for me, like Hazel's a wonderful connection. We connect all the time individually about our work. But I also like Roxanne Gay is our boss. I mean, she doesn't know she's our boss, but we listen to her podcast or we listen to interviews with her and she tells us what we need to be doing. And Alexander Chi is another boss of mine who I just need to reread a particular essay every so often. And it will remind me of what my job is. And so I mean, those are all free, y'all. These are free, and there's a list of podcasts on our resources page. Especially poets are so generous. Like, I feel like I've gotten a poetry MFA from listening to verses, basically. And these different podcasts have given me so much. And so especially if you're, like, I grew up in rural Oregon. That's not the community I talked about when y'all asked about community, but it is the community that I wrote about. So if you want to know about a multiracial Asian growing up in rural Oregon, that's what my stories are often about. But yeah, especially when you're feeling in a little bit of isolation from community. I think leading to that question also, like, if there is someone you feel connected with, reach out to them. If you want to be in community with someone, you have to make it happen. But those tons of resources are available, and find the ones that are free. Like non-competitive residencies are also great places to value your writing and give yourself time and space for long works.
I also want to say that I'm going to ask all our guest speakers, panels, and workshops for any resources they shared, and I will collect that and send it out to you in a post email. There's also going to be a feedback form, so if y'all can help me out and fill that out, that would be really great. So yeah, that will be coming.
Gina, share from the IE.
Yeah, sure. There's the Landy Institute, the Arts Connection, and there's several other organizations in San Bernardino County that you can reach out to, which a lot of people in Landia are connected to. So there are lots of resources there.
Does anybody have an online one they want to shout out? Because that was the question online.
Poetry Lab's a good one. So if y'all haven't ran into the beautiful writer Elizabeth Velasquez, shout out to the homie. She runs a generative writing Instagram Zoom thing, and it's called a mustard seed, starting from a seed. And she holds you accountable. You're there for a whole hour. You got to keep your camera on, no cheating. and you write. And so if you really just want a virtual space where someone's holding you accountable and you're building that community, there's check-ins, there's goals, and then writing, I would recommend following her on Instagram, and that would be a really great place to start. If you want to access something and want to do it online, that would be a good place to start.
She also publishes like, because she only has a GED, she didn't have a that. So she's constantly posting resources for writers that didn't follow the academic route. She has a subscription on Instagram to follow where she has like these little like news things and like advice and like prompts. She's amazing. What's her name?
If you look up Elizabeth Velázquez, Elizabeth, yeah, with a T, B-E-T, Velázquez, and she's amazing. That's amazing.
That was Z or S?
Velas con S. Velázquez. Find her on Instagram and you can just register on Zoom. You don't gotta know anybody, but then you build that community. And it's all free. She's queen, boss, everything, goddess, all of the above.
Not a question, more a comment. There are ways that we can help other writers be seen without gathering with them. And one way is asking your public library to carry a book. You don't even have to buy the book, you have to ask the library and one Noriko Nakada's book is ordered, and they will bring it to your community and put it available for everybody. Even more, write a short review, post it in Goodreads or Amazon, and this is a way you can help your community. I always say, and we have a poem about this, life is like a baseball game. You cannot play with two mittens. Have to have a hand ready to pitch. Keep pitching to your community. Keep as much as you can.
And I wanted to say to that, the public library has a lot of resources, but a book that I used in my creative nonfiction class, in my writing class, when I got my writing BA, Bachelor's of Arts, was Writing Down the Bones. It is a great resource. I have used it in my classes. I paid for those classes, so please, it's like on thrift books for like $6. Use, or go to the local library, take a picture of it. I'm not gonna tell you anything. If I see you taking a picture of the book, like, yeah, we all gotta do what we gotta do. And use those resources, because honest to God, I have learned more about writing in community outside of the academic setting than when I got my Bachelor's of Arts in Literature and Writing. Your community has so much knowledge that is untapped, and if you share that, we all become more knowledgeable, we all become better people, we all become more loving, and we all just learn so much more about each other and ourselves, and tap into different things about that we didn't know about ourselves. And yeah.
There's another online resource called the London Writers Salon, that's global, and every morning, I would say hundreds of writers are on every day.
Okay. The London Writer Salon.
Yeah. And
We can add that to the list of resources.
Online courses, but in the morning, it's free to begin.
Thank you. Thank you. Ooh, that's another good one I was about to say. If y'all haven't checked out Latinx in Publishing, get on that. It's good. But with that, I want to honor time. I see Sochi giving me the eyeballs. So it is 4:45, my people. Can we give a round of applause for our amazing panelists? San Diego. Well, with that being said, the conversation's not over. We say we are a forever resource. We have zines to help get gas money back home. So if y'all want to help us out, that'd be nice. And then all these writers have beautiful books. Please support them and reach out to us. We got cards. Ask your questions. Let's be in community. Let's share story together. Let's do together and get those numbers up. Thank you, everybody.